So we're going to jump back into Lisa Allen's testimony to the Post Office Horizon IT inquiry, and here they're focusing on the build-up to the trial of Suzanne Palmer and the advice that is obtained from Jarnail Singh, and subsequently, once a prosecution is authorised, the advice that has come from Counsel, where they are requesting several additional things to be provided in the case, including some information about the error notices and about the procedures that sub-postmasters were supposed to follow according to the operations manual for Horizon in terms of scratch cards. Let's jump into the inquiry.
Hello, sir. Can you see and hear us?
Yes, thank you very much.
Could we have on screen, please, document reference POL 000-52990? Going to the second page, please, we can see this is from Jarnail Singh, senior lawyer with the criminal law team.
And we've heard a lot of Jarnail recently, so this will be interesting what his instructions in this case were.
Going back to page 1, please, we can see it is dated the 10th of March 2006. It is sent to the investigation team and copied to you. And Mr. Singh says this: noted, thank you. I am of the opinion that there is sufficient evidence to afford a realistic prospect of conviction of Miss Palmer for the offences of false accounting. This case is, in my opinion, more suitable for trial in the Crown Court in view of the deficiency in the account of £14,712.11.
So this must have been prior to the time of that threshold being raised to 20,000, which in 2006 would tie in with what previous witnesses have said.
Once the decision has been made, please proceed to obtain summonses. No further statements need to be obtained at this stage. Mr. Singh then goes on to deal with evidence which would be needed in the event that the matter were to proceed to trial. And he lists 1 statement from the auditors, 2 statement dealing with Mrs. Palmer's appointment at the office as the sub-postmistress, producing a copy of the relevant extract of Mrs. Palmer's contract, showing it is not permitted to use Post Office Limited funds. 3, statement from Lisa Allen and Chester Chine outlining their total involvement in the matter and producing the relevant exhibits for the weeks charged. And 4, any other statements the officers consider relevant.
So in the case there where they're talking about point 2, the relevant extract of Mrs. Palmer's contract showing it's not permitted to use Post Office Limited funds, what are they showing? What are they suggesting that she's used funds for? And this is the whole follow the money argument. What is it alleged that this £2,500 has been spent on? What evidence has been found of where it's gone? If it's real, it will have gone somewhere, whether it's under a mattress, into a bank account, or buying some fancy new handbag. Something that money either has to still exist in monetary form or has to appear in assets somewhere, and that seems to have been totally overlooked at this stage, as it has done and as we've seen in many other cases before it.
So Mr. Singh did not ask you to make any inquiries of the helplines or to obtain any audit data from Fujitsu at this stage, did he?
Not at that stage, no.
Could we have on screen, please, POL 000-53003? This is a memo dated the 26th of July 2006. And scrolling down, please, it is from Miss Andrews from the criminal law team. It is again sent to the investigation team, scrolling up, please, a little, and copied to you. And it reads as follows: the brief for the prosecution has been sent to Mr. Stephen John of Counsel. A copy of the indictment is enclosed herewith for your information. A copy of counsel's advice on evidence is also attached. I would be grateful if you could deal with the matters raised at paragraphs 3 and 4. Could we have on screen, please, counsel's advice referred to in this memo? The reference is POL 30-53008.
Interesting reminder there as well, which they've not read out of I remind you of the continuing requirement of disclosure, because that was a highly contested area in terms of materials. Of any material which might undermine the prosecution case, and would ask that copies of all material not yet disclosed be forwarded to this office immediately on these forms.
And going, please, down to paragraph 3, further inquiries. There are a few issues arising from the papers which I would be grateful to have answered by the investigation manager and appropriate statements made and served to confirm. To whom would the defendant report scratch card errors? Are any records kept? If so, they should be made available. B. When were the error notices to which the defendant refers in interview processed? The IM could not supply this answer when her report was submitted. C. Is there any record of the defendant's training? Experience has shown that statements to the effect that training would have been given are of no value. And then further evidence. At 4, the following matters of evidence should please be attended to. A. Does the Counter Operations Manual contain a section which deals specifically with how scratch card sales should be dealt with on Horizon? If so, the relevant portion needs to be copied and served with a supporting statement. B. The SPM contract signed by the defendant should be obtained, copied and served as above. And C. A statement should be obtained from Nick Kerr to deal with the matters raised in the interview at the relevant page references. So at this stage, counsel advises that further evidence needs to be obtained. Would it have been you who actioned his requests?
Yes, it would.
Mrs. Palmer's case proceeded to trial. You don't mention in your statement having any involvement in the trial, but further material relating to Mrs. Palmer's case has been made available to you since completing your statement.
Yes.
Do you now recall that you made 2 statements for the purposes of the trial and attended court to give evidence?
I do.
Is it right that you were present for the whole of Mrs. Palmer's trial?
I would imagine I would be, but I don't recall that, but I should have been there, yes, throughout the whole trial.
Do you recall the trial at all?
Not specifically, no.
Could we have on screen, please, the second of the statements you made for the trial? The reference is RMG 50254. This statement is an unsigned draft dated the 11th of September 2006. We have been unable to locate the final signed version. Have you had a chance to read this statement recently?
Can I have a look at it?
Of course. Please, if we can just scroll down. I'll take you through what it covers,
okay.
But just to refresh your memory as to which one it is, there was an earlier statement from June 2006, which was in the papers you've now been provided with,
okay.
And this was a further statement from September 2006.
Interesting. So it just looks like here some of the advice which was contained from counsel has been implemented in this second supplementary statement. So, for example, when they said you need to include the Counter Operations Manual, it looks like that's being covered in this. So basically following counsel's advice, which is a good thing.
If I take you through the relevant sections and you just
okay.
say if you need more time to look at it.
Yeah.
You deal, first of all, in this statement with the procedure applying to Camelot scratch cards. And you set out there, you produce as an item LJA 10, which is the Counter Operations Manual relating to Camelot scratch cards. And then you explain which sections there are in that extract.
Yes.
Going over the page, please.